What is going on, everybody? So I am back today to talk about a movie that I saw a couple of people on TikTok mention this movie. I hadn't even heard of it. It was released last year, produced by Blumhouse, and I heard some different reactions. Some people really hated this movie. Some people said it was really interesting and worth checking out. So I was like, you know what? I'll dive into this one and just watch it. And the movie I'm going to be discussing today is Soft and Quiet. Soft and Quiet is directed by Beth de Araújo. Taking place in real time, elementary school teacher Emily organizes a mixer of like-minded women. But an altercation between a woman from Emily's past and the group leads to a volatile chain of events. So I'm going to start off by giving my brief thoughts. I'm going to have to go into spoilers for this movie because it is completely and totally impossible to discuss this film without giving away what the crux of the movie is. So if you want to go into this blind, just know I didn't really love this movie, although I thought the subject matter was interesting, and I'll get into it a little bit more into the review. At the beginning of the film, you're introduced to Emily, who is a school teacher. She's in the bathroom doing a pregnancy test. She starts breaking down crying. She leaves the bathroom and she sees a little kid that's been left at school. Her mom hasn't arrived to pick her up yet. And at the same time, she walks by a Hispanic janitor that's in the school. She kind of gives her like a glance at first, and you're like, okay, what's going on? She's carrying this pie, and she sees that little boy, and she's like, hey, I'll wait here with you until your mom gets here. She's like, oh, look, I made this pie, and like it shows her open the pie up and like close it, and it doesn't really let you as the audience member see what it's conveying. And so then after that, she said she's writing a children's book, but you don't really see what's in the children's book. And she says, hey, that woman was mopping the floor and she could have got you really hurt. You should go in there and tell her not to do that while you're still at the school. But as the teacher is not willing to go make that comment on her own. So the little boy goes in there, he comes back out, but you never cut back into the school. So then it's all shot in what's seemingly a one-take sequence. So you follow the teacher. She ends up going to this church and meeting up with this entire group of ladies. Well, the spoiler of the film, if you want to jump ahead to the end or just watch the movie now and come back and watch my review afterwards, the spoiler of the film is the woman has gotten together all this group of women who are insane racists. Every single one of them, like one of them is a member of the KKK, a couple of them are neo-Nazis. They're all really overtly racist, horrible human beings. And so they get together, I think they call it like a group of the new group of Aryan women or something, and they're like talking about how diversity and things in society have ruined their lives and that that's not the way society is supposed to be. And the entire film is these people just being really racist up until the point where they get into an altercation with these two women of color and things kind of just blow up from that point on. So I really didn't like this movie, which is unfortunate because I think the subject matter is definitely important and needs to be explored. But the problem with this movie is the only thing that it's really saying is racism is bad, which at this point, the audience that is going to go see this movie for the most part is going to be more open-mindedly liberal people that know racism is bad. So watching an hour and a half long movie of racist people just being really horribly racist, it doesn't really do anything for me. I think about a show, though, and I mentioned this in my Letterboxd review of this movie. I think about a show like Atlanta that handles the subject of racism so brilliantly because each and every episode that includes ideals about racism and how people are treated because of the color of their skin is handled in such a nuanced and brilliant way that's either really comedic or incredibly brutal, but every single time it's done so well in an artistic way that really makes you think and that you pull something even deeper and larger out of that source material, which is why Atlanta is one of the most brilliant shows ever made. This movie is just like people being horrible to the point where like you really just want to punch your TV because they're saying these things that I think we all see on the internet consistently, which is crazy right-wing people spewing moronic ideas that aren't really actual. And you just hear these people say the most vile, terrible, disgusting things about other human beings for an hour and a half to where it just gets your blood boiling, but like nothing really happens to them. Like, there's an implication at the end of something that could possibly happen, but for the most part, it's just horrible people being horrible. And I understand, like, making material uncomfortable for you as the viewer to understand how uncomfortable and awful racism is, especially for people of color. I think of a perfect example is a film like 12 Years a Slave, which just looks at the time period of slavery and what people had to go through in that time period in such a very visceral and vulnerable way that makes you incredibly uncomfortable and unsettled. And movies can handle that really well while also providing more. In that movie, you have these incredible characters that are really built out and that are fleshed out, that make you attached to them, make you care even more, make you want more. In this, you're just looking at these really horrible women who at one point are introduced to these two women who are of color that are just trying to live their lives out, and they get confronted by these idiot white racists, and their characters aren't fleshed out enough, just enough to where you're like, oh, I feel bad for them because they're people. You can attach on to the fact that they're just people trying to live their lives. But I don't know, I just wanted so much more from this, and it doesn't help that a lot of the performances in this weren't all that great. There was a couple of moments with the line delivery that I was like, this feels like if SNL tried to tackle something a little bit more politically relevant, and it just felt kind of hammy and stupid, which is unfortunate because I can see the director has really good intentions with this. And I don't ever want to like bring down a filmmaker who is trying to bring to light something so important, which is racial equality and making sure that people are being treated correctly and that everyone is looked at as a human being. It's really important that that type of source material is made and that it's brought out there. I just wish this would have been executed better. And I do like the whole idea of keeping it in one take to make you as the audience member feel really uncomfortable. I think it works for the most part. There's a couple of moments that I was like, I don't really know what this is doing. It's not really adding much. But for some of the scenes, when your vision is forced on this and you're not cutting away, it makes it all the more impactful. And like I said, I really wanted to love this movie, and I ended up just not really liking it. So have you seen Soft and Quiet? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Despite the really tough subject matter in this movie and the really important point that this movie is trying to make, I just don't think it was executed as well as it could have been. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.